Go Language Programming, Chapter 1, Unit 3. In this unit, we will go over the control flow that Go provides using the if statement, and also we will cover the switch statement in how it is used in Go language. In computer science, control flow is the order in which individual statements, instructions, or function calls of a program are executed or evaluated when a program is running. So the control flow statements determine what sections of code is to run in a program at any time. In Go language, if-else statement is used for control flow within the program. The syntax of if-else is in Go language is a little different from C programming language. So if a statement in Go does not use the parentheses. So it looks, the code when you write it may look like a C code or Java code, but it would be missing the parentheses. But the curly braces are required in the if statement. So if a statement can start with a short statement to execute before any condition. So you can actually start a if statement with some very short statement. That is, we are talking about this right here. This is a very short statement, okay? And then some condition comes right here. So that's how you can also write the if statement. So variables that are declared within the if statement will have a scope until the end of the if statement. So the start of the if statement is right here in the curly braces. Okay, so this is a start and this is the end. So, and then this is the body of the if statement. So in this body, you could, right now, there is only one statement, which is just a return statement. But you can have a multiple statements within the body of a if statement. So as we just discussed in this case, the very short statement is there, and then some condition. Based on this condition, if this condition is true, then the body of this statement will be executed. You can also branch from within the if statement. So by using a else with it. So you have a if statement and then some condition, and then if this condition is true, then it will go within the block of this curly braces, which is a body for this if statement. And if it is false, then it will fall down to this else statement. And as you can see, else also has a body with the curly braces. And within that, you can also have a multiple statements within this else body. So that's how you can branch. Variables declared within an if short statement. So we are talking about this. This is a short statement. Are only are available inside any of the else block. So this num that is declared in this short statement, it is in the scope of every block that the else has. So every else block also have the scope of this uh, short statement which is declared within the if. So that means this variable num is available in this else right here as well, and it is the in the last else also in the body of it, in the else block. Notice also that when we have been talking about this short statement will always will be created with a colon equals to. Okay, that's how the short statement within the if will be created. You cannot create a short statement with a var like we talked in the previous units. So note that um, you do not need parentheses around the conditions in Go, okay, which we already talked about it, but that the braces are required, okay. So the braces that we talked about, they are required in the Go language. Also, make a note of it that the conditional operator, which is available in C and C++, that is no longer in Go language. Okay, so conditional operator, which is a question mark and a colon, which is provided in C, C++, is no longer provided in the in the Go language. Okay. So now let's go over how the switch statement works in a Go language. So the switch statement allows us to execute one code block among many alternatives. Okay? So that's what the switch statement does in any language, not only in the Go language. You can do the same thing with if else if latter. So the way that the switch statement works, instead of using a switch statement, you can use a if else if else, the and keep going. But the problem is that the code will be very difficult to read, and basically it also what this if else will do is to use more CPU cycles, because if you are using if else, then what happens is that your um, uh, conditions are checked. Each condition is checked. So whenever each condition is checked, the CPU has to go through a cycle to recycle in each instructions. So the as you know that everything that you do it in writing the code in any language, that is really translated in the assembly instructions at a very low level, and those instructions are the one that they go through the CPU in a sequence. Okay, so that's how it works. So basically, the syntax of a switch statement is much simpler to read and write than using if else ladder. Okay, so that's why a switch statement, is much more friendlier and makes the code more easy to understand and read. So a switch statement runs first case. So as you know that switch statement has a cases to the conditions expression. So the condition is this one. So this is the condition right here. Okay. So it will go through each cases, and as soon as it finds the case, that's it. It will stop. So the cases are evaluated from top. So this is a top. So this case is done first, and then this one, and so forth, and then stop when a case succeeds. So if any of the case it succeeds in this example, the I is assigned to 2, so this case will succeed. So it will stop. It would not go to case number 3. Okay. If no case matches and there is a default case, so that means the default is basically not, so default clause is optional in the case statement. So this default, you don't have to have a default, but if you have a default, then these cases are not matched with the condition, then it will come to the default. Okay. And so basically, this is in this case, this code, as let's quickly go over this simple Go language code. So in this code, you very first thing you have to do is to tell that this piece of code will be an executable, and the way that you tell it is to have a package main, the syntax in your source code. And then second thing, the reason that this import FMT package, which is a standard Go language package, is used here because we want to be able to um, uh, um, have to be able to print something on the screen. So this FMT package has a print function. So to get that functionality for doing some display, we are using a print function from the FMT package, and the print function basically has two different formats. So as you can see, this one is just a print, and then this one is a print line. So the difference is that the in this case, whatever is going to be printed, it is going to be right after this this line, after this, as on your display. And if you have a print line, that means that will act as a each individual line, and then the next thing will be printed on or displayed on your screen will be in the next line. Okay, so that's the difference between ln and just a print. I mean print ln and just a print. So that's the difference in there. Other than that, we already talked about in the previous unit that that we can only assign or colon equals to can only be used within the function. So this is the main function, which is an entry point. Okay, so this is the body. It starts a main function right here and it ends right here. So I'm creating a variable I within this body and initializing it with number 2. Now notice that I is not really declared, meaning I have not declared I variable with its type int, and then did not do anything like this. Okay, so again, just a reminder, in Go language, the type is on the right side of a variable. This I is a variable, and this is a type which is on the right side. And then when you want to assign a data to this variable, you use an equal sign to assign it. But and then of course you have to have a var in here, okay, to do just like this. So, but this var, as we have talked in the previous section, can be used within the function body or outside the function body. But this colon equals to can only be used within the function body. And when you use a colon equals to, compiler will always automatically will figure it out that the data which is going to be assigned to this variable, the type of that data will tell the compiler that the type of the variable will be. Okay, so that type of the variable will automatically will be determined by the compiler based on what type of a data that is assigned to this particular variable. Okay, so that is a very common way to write a switch statement. So now let's look at more complicated switch statements. So a switch statement without a condition, so you can have a switch statement without a condition, is the same as a switch true. So what basically means is that there is no condition, So in this case, we are creating a variable called hour and assigning it to this function now hour. So now this is again this time dot, the time is a standard package that you will see it later in other examples, and we'll go into more detail about it. But this time is a Go language package that is used. So this is a code sniff. It's not a complete program. So that's why it doesn't have import time or anything like that. So we are using a time dot now and then now dot hour. So basically, this package, which is a standard package in Go language, has a function called now and hours. Okay, so and it is checking if it is a variable is less than 12, then it will come to this case. If it is less than 17, then it will come to this case. So basically, it will act exactly like the way that we previously discussed this switch statement. One other thing to notice in Go language is that um, in other languages, the switch statement must have a break statement after every case, right before the statements end. So there will be a break right here. But in break statement. So basically, in Go, this break is not necessary. You do not need to have a break after each case. Okay, so that's not really required by the Go language syntax. Uh, but of course, this your curly braces are required, and then when you are assigning the variable in the for the conditions, you have to terminate this with the semicolon. Okay, so the statement without an expression is an alternative way to express if else logic. So basically, in this code sniff, what we are looking at it is that we are getting again using the time package to get the current time and assigning it to the variable by using a colon equals to. That means this code sniff is a part of some function. Okay, So that's why you can use this colon equals to syntax, and it is creating the memory or allocating the memory called T, and assigning some data by getting this time dot now. And then in this switch statement, as we said, that it doesn't have any expression. So then that means this is very similar to if else way of writing it. But notice that, you know, it, even if you do it this way, the code becomes much more easy to read, because there is no if else. You just have a switch statement and the many different cases. Okay. And basically, as we discussed earlier, this default is optional. You don't have to have the default in a body of a switch statement. So let's look at one more um, uh, way that you can use the switch statement. So you can use a switch statement just like a list. So you can, if you are using the switch statement just like a list, you have to terminate each one case. Instead of having a separate cases, you are saying that if it matches, if C matches with any one of these characters, then just return true. Okay, so that's what we are saying right here. So that means if this case becomes valid, then go and do these statements. Any, in this case there is only one statement, but there could be many more statements. So this is a way that you can do it all in one time. Okay, as a list, and it becomes much more simpler. The code becomes easy to read. As we talked about, the default statement is optional. You don't have to have it, so this default can be gone. Okay? In this case, again, we are using a time package and going over the or accessing the function now from the time package, and based on what this function returns, that case will be valid. So in this case, it is either it is going to be Sunday, Saturday, or Sunday. Then it will go in here. Okay, in this case, if it is neither of them, so if this case is valid, then it is going to come to this statement. If it is this not valid, then it will come to this this statement. That means it is just a weekday. Okay, so as you can see, this logic becomes much more easier to implement in your code. Okay, so that basically concludes Unit 3 for chapter number 1.